Horner's revenge move against Red Bull leaked after secret talks with Aston Martin. Christian Horner has never been a quiet figure in Formula One, but the latest buzz around his rumored move to Aston Martin is making more noise than usual. It's the kind of paddock whisper that starts out sounding ridiculous until you look closer and realize it might be genius. Because if there's one thing that defines Aston Martin right now, it's ambition. They're not just throwing money at drivers or sponsors. They're building a machine, aggressively recruiting talent, partnering with Honda for engines, and preparing to take a serious swing at the 2026 reset. And Horner? He could be the final puzzle piece. Let's not forget who we're talking about here. Horner didn't just show up at Red Bull and get lucky. He built a dynasty. He nurtured a young Sebastian Vettel into a four-time world champion, then turned around and set the stage for Max Verstappen to dominate this generation. That's not coincidence. That's execution, strategy, culture, leadership. So when Lawrence Stroll looks at what he's trying to build at Aston Martin, it makes perfect sense that he'd want someone like Horner at the helm, someone who knows exactly how to build a winning team from the inside out. Not in theory, but in practice. And here's where the plot thickens. Red Bull is on the brink of a major transformation of its own. They're dropping Honda and switching to Ford power units for 2026, which is a massive gamble no matter how you spin it. Meanwhile, Honda isn't just walking away, they're walking over to Aston Martin, which means Aston will become Honda's new factory team. That's not a small detail, it changes everything. And suddenly, a Red Bull-style structure could be rebuilt in green, same engine supplier, similar technical ethos, and possibly the same man pulling the strings. But this isn't just about Horner. Another name you keep hearing in the background is Yuki Tsunoda, and his position in this whole shakeup tells you a lot about how teams plan for the long game. Tsunoda may wear Red Bull colors right now, but he's always been a Honda protege. Without Honda's influence, he likely wouldn't be in F1 at all. And once Honda parts ways with Red Bull, Tsunoda's seat becomes anything but secure, especially when the Red Bull Junior program is crammed with hungry names like Isaac Hadjar, all of them waiting for their shot. Helmut Marko isn't known for patience. If you're not delivering, you're gone. And with Hadjar's momentum rising, Tsunoda might find himself edged out just as Honda sets up shop with Aston Martin. You can see where this is going. Honda has every reason to keep Tsunoda in the picture, even if it's as a test or reserve driver at first. That kind of move would keep him on the radar, close to the decision makers, and within the system they're building. It's not glamorous, but in Formula One, staying in the room matters. Because once you're out, it's damn hard to get back in. And then there's Max Verstappen. His name hovers over every strategic decision like a cloud. Is he staying? Is he watching? You bet he is. Every top driver watches the chessboard. Verstappen's camp has stayed quiet lately, suggesting he's locked in with Red Bull through 2026. But if the Ford engine flops, if the culture shifts under pressure, if the car stops being dominant, that contract becomes just paper. Because top drivers don't stick around for nostalgia. They stay for trophies. And if Aston Martin starts looking like the new apex predator, strong leadership, factory engine focus, and rising structure, don't be surprised if Verstappen's eyes wander. Juan Pablo Montoya might not be in the paddock anymore, but when he talks, people still listen. And on his podcast, he dropped a gem that lit this entire Aston Martin theory on fire. Horner just feels like an Aston Martin guy. Think about it. He spent years alongside Adrian Newey building a culture that thrives on precision, innovation, and winning. That mindset doesn't fade. It travels. And if Aston Martin really wants to stop flirting with podiums and start hunting titles, they need more than fast cars. They need someone who can build a championship culture from the garage floor to the boardroom. That's what makes Horner so dangerous. He's not just a team principal, he's a system builder. He sees the whole map. Drivers, engineers, power unit politics, media strategy. He knows how to pull it all together. Which is why when people say this Aston Martin link is just noise, they're missing the point. It's not about rumors, it's about needs. And right now, Aston needs someone who knows what winning actually feels like, not someone still figuring it out. That brings us to the real prize. 2026, the year everything resets. New engines, new regulations, new hierarchy. It's a chance to flip the board. Red Bull and Ferrari may be giants, but they're not guaranteed kings in the next chapter. Whoever nails the integration between car design and power unit will have a head start. And that's where the Honda deal becomes gold dust for Aston Martin. It's not just about bolting a fast engine into a decent car. It's about working hand in glove with the engine supplier from day one, shaping the chassis around the power unit like a tailor-made suit. That kind of synergy is rare. Red Bull had it with Renault once, then again with Honda, Mercedes had it during their golden run, and now Aston has the shot if they build the right leadership to make it count. Horner understands those dynamics. He's played this game before and won, which is why if he does land at Aston Martin, he won't be coming in to tweak the system. He'll be coming in to transform it. And then there's Tsunoda. His situation is more delicate than most people realize. Right now, he's clinging to a seat that looks increasingly fragile. Red Bull's junior program doesn't have room for sentiment, and the clock is ticking. If Isak Hajar gets promoted, and there's every indication that's the plan, Tsunoda could be out. That's where Honda steps in. They've backed him since day one, and now they have a new team to influence. A soft landing at Aston Martin, even as a reserve driver, could be a career-saving move. It wouldn't be flashy, it wouldn't guarantee race weekends, but it would keep him connected, still visible, still active in debriefs, in sim work, in the corridors where future lineups are shaped. It's not the grid, but it's close enough to matter because the moment someone gets injured, underperforms, or bolts to another team, Tsunoda's proximity becomes opportunity. And in F1, proximity is half the battle. Aston Martin knows this, Honda knows this, and if Horner joins, he'll know exactly how to use it. He's ruthless when it comes to performance, but he also understands the value of loyalty, especially when it aligns with strategic depth. A driver like Tsunoda, embedded early, could be a quiet weapon, a flexible piece that slots in when needed, already trained in the system and fluent in the engine's demands. It's not about sentiment, it's about preparation. And that's the energy Aston Martin seems to be channeling right now. Max Verstappen's future has been the favorite subject of F1 armchair strategists for months now. Whispers of Mercedes, rumors of Aston Martin, fantasy pairings tossed around like trading cards. But when you cut through all that noise, one thing is clear. Verstappen isn't leaving speed. He's not chasing a paycheck or a legacy lap. He wants the fastest car and a team that doesn't get in his way. That's why Red Bull still holds him. As long as they're delivering dominance, he has no reason to walk, but the moment they slip, he won't blink. And that's where the 2026 reset comes into play. The new power unit era is going to reshuffle the entire sport. What looks solid now could be shaky in 2 years. Red Bull's partnership with Ford is exciting on paper, but it's untested. They're basically building a power unit department from scratch. That's an enormous risk, no matter how confident the PR sounds. If that gamble doesn't pay off, and if another team, say Aston Martin, shows up with a weapon of a car, Verstappen's loyalty becomes conditional. He's not going to waste his prime stuck in a development cycle while others race ahead. If Aston Martin nails their engine chassis integration with Honda and builds a leadership core that looks sharp and decisive, it instantly becomes a team worth watching. And Verstappen? He's not sentimental. If he sees a clearer path to titles elsewhere, he'll take it. That's not betrayal. That's how champions think. Now, imagine the paddock in 2026. Aston Martin's garage painted in factory Honda green, Christian Horner walking the pit wall with a new badge, Yuki Tsunoda in a quiet support role, logging simulator hours and waiting for his moment. And on the other side of the pit lane, Max Verstappen watching it all unfold. That's not just a hypothetical. That's the kind of setup that shifts the gravitational pull of the sport. Because what Aston Martin is doing isn't about hype, it's about architecture. They're not making random moves. They're building a structure that can receive greatness. You don't win in this sport by hoping a miracle driver saves you. You win by designing a system that can attract and support a miracle when it arrives. That's what Red Bull did with Vettel, that's what Mercedes did with Hamilton, and that's what Aston might be trying to do right now. The thing is, Red Bull's dominance has always been a bit of a balancing act. Their success wasn't just built on a fast car. It was the combination of Adrian Newey's design genius, Horner's management, and a clear driver hierarchy. Shake up any part of that, and especially the leadership, and you risk breaking the formula. Formula. The departure of someone like Horner isn't just a headline, it's a tectonic shift, one that could crack the foundations Red Bull has stood on for nearly 2 decades. Of course, Aston Martin still has to take the swing. Signing Horner, reshaping their culture, and making bold driver moves, it's a massive commitment. It means friction, accountability, and letting go of comfort. But if they do it right, they won't just be fast. They'll be respected, feared, taken seriously as a title threat, not just a feel-good story about podiums and potential. That's the real story here, not gossip, not drama. It's about a team daring to reinvent itself at the perfect moment, a driver standing at the edge of dominance and considering his next move, a sport ready to redraw the map. If Aston Martin gets it right, the next chapter of Formula One won't look like Red Bull versus Mercedes anymore. It might just be green, and the names leading it won't be new, they'll be familiar, just wearing different colors.